Okay, let's go.
Hello there, Chick Chat. We are back with another episode from Teen Mom. Brooke's Eyes Better, if y'all catched our last one.
Thank you, Miss Anne. She taught me the trick and it worked immediately. So only 2 hours of suffering.
Yeah, if you ever get something caught in your eye, just kind of like do a few of these. Don't rub.
Yeah, so
Downward
first I
motion.
rubbed it. Yeah, you have to like down and then up.
Yep.
Up. But yeah, I got my eyelash out. I still am not sure if it was connected and it was just flipped into there or if we got it out, but feeling much better now. So
hopefully you guys didn't have to wait weeks to hear the end of that and
yeah, we'll see.
worry about her. So also, if you guys like my jewelry, definitely hit up our link in the description to get some jewelry from Kay's. I have my own little shop on there. So look at these cool, oh, I don't get these from Kay's, but look at these cool little gummy bears.
I was wondering at first, I was like, is she
Yeah.
wearing Christmas trees? And then I noticed that they were all colors, and I was like, those are damn gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love it.
We really only have two storylines going on, but we're going to start with Brianna's. And Brianna is still continuing what's going on with Roxanne. Basically, Roxanne is still really lethargic-y, kind of lost her zest for life, still in some form of, I wouldn't say detox, but basically just reaccumulating to society. She's just exhausted.
I mean, you think about being on something, whatever it was. At some point, she was on something for over 30 years, 40 years. I mean, all the years of your life, basically, that you've been able to function on your own, which she was functioning on her own, or she probably should have been. I can't imagine how different it must be. Not just the whole I'm sober thing, but your neurological process like probably don't work, So I think she really is probably going through a whole lot more just in her brain and not even emotionally, mental health wise, which is a lot, but just her actual brain trying to function. It must really be hard.
Yeah, it just convinces me more and more that when she had that phone call with Brianna where she was like, oh, I'm so great, I'm this and that, it was all some sort of front because this woman seems miserable.
I think she wants to feel that way and I feel bad
Mhm.
for her that she doesn't. But if you look at the reality of the situation, we're talking about decades and decades of your brain depending on a substance to function, and now it's not
Mhm.
there. It's going to take more than 6 weeks for her to be able to do much of anything other than be catatonic, which is still the state she's in, which is sad. It's all sad. I don't think anyone realized it was going to be this hard, but now that it is this hard, it's like, well, duh.
Yeah. One thing Brianna wants to do is have a family photo shoot because I guess her walls be looking bare and she wants updated photos.
I think
And
MTV offered to pay for them to do something other than sit in their house. She's starting to look like Amber sitting in the house.
a little bit. I think
Yeah.
also to get Brittany and Roxanne in the same room again and that they
Mhm.
could film about it, but it's neither here nor
It's
there.
such a weird time to want to do a family photo shoot with her mom just newly out of detox and her sister about to get married. It's like, okay.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Miss Brooke.
You certainly do.
So she calls Brittany to see if it's okay to do this whole photo shoot. I mean, obviously she was going to say yes. And they kind of used the girls as a reason to say yes. I just think she just low-key wanted to kind of see her mom for herself a little bit in a safer environment because they're out in the public. There's a photographer there. There's all these people around. So if Roxanne tries anything, here's at least witnesses.
So true. There's a photographer there to document.
I thought it was cute. She brought her little fiance. We kind of see him in the background sometimes, but I love to hear him speak, hear what his voice sounds like. Roxanne obviously says yes, and I thought that was hilarious when Brianna was texting Brittany. She's like, "I spoke to mom, and she said yes." Sounded so excited, and Roxanne did not sound like that. Roxanne was like,
Yeah.
"What do you want? What do you call me for? Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm. I know. It's like, what's going on? Why are you calling? And Brie was robotic almost. She's like, yeah, I'm good. So I'm calling because it's like she put her customer service voice on for her own mother.
Does she not call Roxanne very often unless something crazy is going down? Because Roxanne's ready for something.
Do you know what I peeped?
Huh.
I think this was after they had the photo shoot, but when she is talking to Brittany, I think this is after the photo shoot about what's going on, and she texts her mom to come over to talk to the two of them.
Mhm.
Did you see the text message before that?
Yeah, there was, like, a big long one before that.
Yeah, it was from Roxanne to Brie about, I'm sorry that I didn't call you yesterday. Happy belated birthday. Love you. Sorry. Roxanne missed her birthday.
Part of me wonders if Roxanne's even really 100% so. Like, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate, and I'm wondering if she might have came home and just started reusing again.
Yeah, or maybe she didn't even complete the program. Maybe she just came
Left.
home. Yeah.
Maybe it was longer than 6 weeks. I don't
I mean,
know.
I know Bree had contact with the counselor or therapist or whatever, but that lady didn't even sound like a real lady, so I
It's
don't really know.
me.
It's me. Your mom's being crazy.
It's me. I'm Audio. I can't. So I don't even know if
Yeah.
that was a therapist or a producer or a friend
Who
or an
knows? She could
actor.
have just went out to Arizona to some lady's house. What? Was this a reputable place that she went to? We don't even know.
I need a therapist on the line that doesn't start a conversation with "It's me. I'm Audio."
Hey, it's me.
It's
It's who? Who are you? And what
Yeah.
are your credentials?
She had to have obviously spoken with the therapist right before that, because otherwise, if
Yeah.
some random number calls you and says, "Hey, it's me,"
Yeah.
I'd be like
I think a
looking out
lot
my
of times
windows.
what probably happens is they live their real life and then MTV comes in and they're like, "Okay, so can we
Restage
see
it.
how that played out again?"
She probably had to call this therapist and be like, "So I'm on
So
an
I'm on a
MTV
TV show.
show, and I need you to call me back again in about 2 minutes."
And then,
It's me.
actually, this is where it makes sense maybe if it was a real therapist, if they didn't want to be identified,
By their name.
saying like, "Hey,
Why can't
it's
they
me."
bleep it out or just be
I would
like,
just say like, "Hi, I'm the therapist with
"I'm Roxanne's
such and
therapist."
such recovery." Or, "Yeah, I'm Roxanne's therapist." I would even say that, not just, "Hey, it's me."
I wish
I
it
don't
would make
even barely say that to my mom, and I'm her only child. What do you mean it's me?
I don't think I've ever called anybody and said, "Hey, it's me." I'll usually just be like, "Hey."
It's me. Hi. If you guys are wondering what we're talking about, by the way, this was like a couple episodes ago. The
Check that out.
therapist called from Roxanne's place and said, "It's me.
Hi,
Hi."
it's me. Anyway, so they do this whole photo shoot thing. Brittany's obviously very uncomfortable to be around Roxanne. She's making all these crazy faces, even vocalizing how uncomfortable it is. She's like, "This is weird. This is uncomfortable."
I get it. But I'm also like, you agreed to be here. Does the photographer know that you guys are all not getting along, or does she just feel like she like
Poor photographer. She asks Roxanne if she wants to remove her hat. Roxanne's like, "No." Walks away. Like, "I'm
I
done."
feel
She's
like
like, "I'm done." I thought
I
she was
just
gonna have a meltdown or something. And I was like,
yeah, you're usually photographing happy occasions and happy families, and at least people sort of put on a happy face at that point when you're in front of the camera trying to take pictures you're paying for. So I just thought it was
so
so
awkward.
crazy. She's like, "Get a little closer to your mom." She thought like what is that? I hope the photographer captured a couple of
I
those
bet she
moments.
did. They weren't even holding poses for very long. The girl would be like, "Look at your mom." They'd like look at her for a second, and they're like, "She didn't get no photo." Like,
I know. Goodness gracious. You guys are here. Let's just and I get that it's uncomfortable, but if you agree to do something, just figure it out. But I guess it was a good dress rehearsal for Brittany's wedding coming up because I know when they did all end up talking about how the photo shoot went, Roxanne even was like, "I don't want to feel like that at your wedding." I'm like, "Okay, good. So you guys have some work to do because this is what it is right now."
it was pretty awkward.
Bree and her mom and sister have always been such a unit. It's a little bizarre to see them so disconnected, all of them. Bree and Brittany, of course, are still maintaining a positive relationship with each other, but they're so disconnected in the way that they feel about their mom and her recovery. It's hard for them to relate to each other about that. And Brittany and her mom are, I mean, just trying to stay in the same room together. And Bree and her mom used to have this co-parenting relationship, and now it's like her mom is another child to her
Yeah,
almost. It's just so different than it was 2 months ago even for them. It's really weird.
yeah. I feel like if it wasn't for these kids, these people would barely be trying.
True, but I also think too, thank God for that because I think all of their lives would really spiral to go from being so close, even if it's chaotic and difficult sometimes, to all of a sudden, because of something like this, they probably would just stop talking to each other. And then all at the same time during Brittany's wedding, they probably all would have had separate meltdowns. Thank God the kids are here to sort of keep them having to look each other in the face and deal with this stuff.
Normally, Brianna relies heavy on Roxanne for childcare, all this stuff. Roxanne can't even go over there longer than an hour. So I'm wondering how long Roxanne's really gonna feel like that. How long this is really gonna last for her, because Brianna really struggling when it comes to childcare.
Yeah, she's got the sad storyline this season, so we're gonna leave it in the sad place. But we do have mix this episode of Maci, Cate, and Amber. They do start off at their respective houses. It does start off with Maci texting Cate about Amber and if she's heard from Amber and anything about the adoption situation with Christina. So they think that Amber's birthday would be a good time for them to visit. So Cate agrees to text Amber.
Yeah, I would love to be told about my daughter wanting to be adopted on my birthday.
They are up to some trouble, these two. I want to believe that they have good intentions, but I also feel like they were kind of set up by MTV to just go stir up.
Neither of these people had a solid storyline all season. So
None of them, not even Amber. Nobody wants to see Amber other than to see what's going to play out with Leah. So I think it was brilliant on the producer's part to put them all in the same storyline. They could probably.
They might have made Gary say that just to stir all this up.
I think they bought the filet and the burgers and everything for Gary because this was a whole setup. But both of the husbands of these women are not feeling the decisions that these women are making, but are being good husbands and supporting them anyways and staying holding down the fort at home.
I agree with them full-heartedly. I don't think it's their place to tell Amber, regardless whether or not she sees it on TV before anybody tells her. That's really up to Gary. It's not really your place as friends. Like some of them have said, what if Leah changed her mind? Or what if that was just a thought and maybe Gary was probably just venting to the guys, and all this really is going to do is keep Gary from venting to the guys ever again. Now he knows if he says something, Tyler going to run over to Cate. She said, my husband told me.
There's a mole. Yep. Here's a mole. His name's Tyler.
I think it looks worse that Tyler did it in the moment too. Like, he didn't just wait to go home, right? He went right upstairs.
He ran right upstairs, called his wife. He said, did you hear about this? And you know what? We also all want a Tyler in our life because I love a man that brings me tea.
Even from far away, virtually. It was interesting to see Tyler and Taylor both be like, this really isn't your place. But then they also were like, y'all are her friends, so I understand the confusion there, whatever. I don't know how good a friend y'all's are. They showed a couple throwbacks, and it's like, yeah, I think you guys have been there for each other at random times in 10 years, but it's not like you guys are calling Amber all the time. You guys aren't even hearing from Amber.
I also wonder, though, how many close friends any of them have. And so maybe for them, this feels like as close to a friendship as they could really get. And they probably do have a lot to relate on, especially now. Cate's mom has been through what, Leah and Amber have been through together. And there's like Bentley and Ryan. I'm sure they have a lot of experiences to share and things to talk about, and that's not even touching them being on TV since they were teenagers and all of that. I think they probably do feel a closeness with each other, but I think it's also almost always produced for them to be together.
Well, I just think this is a huge overstep. But I am glad they decided to talk to Gary before they just run over to Amber. I think if they ran over to Amber without even saying anything to Gary, that's an even bigger overstep.
This would have been a much more exciting episode for us, but a terrible mistake for the family of Amber.
They decide to meddle in someone else's family and hop over to Indiana because apparently their own are getting a little bit boring. Ryan's getting sober, and they already talked about the adoption a lot. So we gotta go over to Indiana.
Stir up some more tea to brew.
Maci flies there. I'm assuming Caitlin drove because really Indiana's not that far from Michigan. She probably drove about 5 hours or so just to get there. They're in this Airbnb. Maci's looking like hell because, I mean, when you go through the airport, you've been through it. Even if it's a short day, it just feels like a long day. Maci gets there and they waste absolutely no time. Maci's still in her airport clothes when they invite Gary over for cheese and meat. And that man, I don't even know if he ate any of it, but
there was like 2 cake pops on there too. Did the producers bring this as well? Did Maci just put a cake pop on there for, because where did she find the time to get this stuff? She just came ragged out of the airport, and now She has a charcuterie board with cake pops? From
Kate
where?
must have brought it on her way down, must have made a stop.
She could have made a stop. She very well could have. But yeah, I thought this whole
Kate
thing
was all
too.
done up and everything. Kate looked great.
Kate was ready. I was impressed with Kate this whole episode. She was calling the shots, calling the people, sending the text messages, making the plans. Macy was a good hype man. She allowed it all, facilitated a lot of it, but Kate was just getting stuff done here.
I feel
I
like
was
it was
like, wow.
Macy's initial idea to go ambush,
And
Amba and try to ruin her life a little bit and get her on a little bit of a spiral. Kate really is the one that took control. And in fact, Macy looked at her and she's like, "You're in control. I'm so exhausted from the airport. You take the lead." So they get a hold of Gary to come over there. Gary, even when he answered the phone, seemed confused. Why are these girls calling me to hang out?
I know Kate even had to identify herself. She didn't give him a, hey, it's me. He probably had no idea. Or maybe the producer said 10 minutes before, you're going to get a phone call if you could. And I'm sorry, but who is just available on a random day that people call when you have a couple of kids hanging around? I don't
Farm.
think Gary works, but he's got a farm or whatever.
Gary, I don't think works. So yeah, he is available on a random day.
It was
That's
so funny.
why
He's like, "Oh, today?" And at first I was like, "Okay, he's about to say he's busy." She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm free. I'll come over right now." This was produced or something.
it's either produced or Amber's definitely lying about, which I do kind of also believe Amber's lying about, because obviously these people have all the time in the world to hang out with
Oh
her.
yeah,
So
Amber can go over there whenever. That's why when they end up making a plan later on, it was the next day. Because guess what? After that, they can probably hang out again the next day and the next day and the next day. These people are available, all
all
of
of
them.
them. It's Amber that makes herself unavailable while being available.
Yeah,
It's
she
strange.
just stops it at "I'm available," and then she never makes her own efforts to make a plan, and she interprets everyone else's lack of effort, even though it's her job, as "I'm too busy, I don't wanna hang out with you." I'm jumping ahead, but the fact that this woman interpreted her daughter sending her schedule as "I'm too busy to hang out with you" is baffling.
I know, like
Baffling.
the girl couldn't have been sending you her schedule just so you can work around it. So she could just be like, "Hey, it looks like you're open Tuesday afternoon after a track or something. Maybe I pick you up and we go get us a little snickety snack."
Yeah, or maybe
Yeah.
I show up to your track practice and watch. Here is my schedule is an open invitation to me. I mean, I get that that stuff is up for interpretation, but you cannot say, "Oh, it couldn't have been more clear that she said she's busy." No. And if
Well,
she is that busy, show up to that stuff.
I think Macy and Caitlin even were like, "You don't think that that could have meant something else?"
The patience that those two women had in that conversation, I will say we should
Money.
all be inspired.
I know I couldn't have. That is not what that means. That Amber, I think maybe you've been alone in your house for too long. Someone sending you their schedule is not a threat. Either show up to these things or let's go out to dinner or go shopping or whatever different day. She agreed to go shopping. She agreed
Yeah,
to do it. She just sent a schedule so Amber can find the time to go with
I know.
her.
I know.
So strange.
Gary and the charcuterie board and Macy and Kate all decide that they're going to throw a party the very next day for Amber for her birthday. Essentially, in
Mhm.
the same conversation, almost in the same sentence, Kate is also like, "Oh, and by the way, I also wanted to know about this whole adoption thing." And Gary gives this weird response, something along the lines of, "She probably knows because she called me and said there's something weird going on." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And so, yeah, she probably knows. And then he
Mhm.
says, "I gotta go make food for tomorrow because you guys just threw a party at my house." And I just don't understand how there was not a follow-up question. Even if there was and they just didn't air it and there was some editing going on, I doubt that there was really because it seemed like they were just as confused afterwards as they were before. Kate was like, "So if she knows about it, then we can talk about it, right?" And then they both had that same feeling, "Absolutely not. Can we talk to Amber about this issue?" That was not a green flag.
You had this man sitting in front of you. If you
This is
had
what
more
you literally
questions,
came here for, not to throw a party at his house, not to see what they're about to see later on. You came here to figure this part out.
it makes absolutely no sense to me that they were hyping up this. Okay, we got to talk to him about this. They weren't even saying the questions they needed to ask. Caitlin asked one question: "Does Amber know?" Well, I think she knows because she called me saying she heard stuff. Well, for one, that doesn't mean Amber knows anything. Amber could
Heard
hear
what?
anything and get upset about it. It could be
Yeah.
about anything. That doesn't have to be about Christina or anything. Like,
Yeah,
he might have already assumed these people told Amber. So,
probably.
I don't know.
I think that would actually be a fair assumption for him to make, even though it's wrong.
Now
No,
with them
no.
sitting in front of you and asking if she knows we can talk about it, now they're the only people that are going to tell Amber, more than likely. I can't see Jade or Brianna or anything getting on the phone with Amber and being like, "Hey, Amber, you want to get your day f***ed up?" I just don't understand. You took the opportunity to make this man drive all the way to you so you could grill him, make him feel uncomfortable. You could tell he was uncomfortable the whole time even seeing these girls. He only sees them on an MTV stage every now and then for a reunion in the last 10 years. It's not like Gary's been hanging out with these people. He's been hanging out with their men, but not these people. And then Maci didn't ask a single question. It was Caitlyn doing all the stuff, which I get it. Maci's got to be exhausted and out of her mind right now. She was just in the airport and not even out of her airport clothes. And now she's doing all these filming scenes. Like, get that bitch a nap.
They did find out, though, from Gary that Amber hasn't seen Leah in over 7 months.
And they didn't even bat an eye at that. I was like,
not to him. And then privately between each other, they were like, oh, that's really surprising. And it's like, is it though? Because people talk all the time in the last couple of years of how Amber does not see Leah as much as she should be seeing her, especially when Amber's in a relationship with somebody. I don't really get why it's so hard for them to believe. I understand that they probably know better than anyone that people who watch the show don't have any idea actually what's going on in these people's lives, but you can't make up a reality. It is certainly a reality what's going on between Amber and Leah. Do we know all the details and why and when they've seen each other last? Not exactly, but you can't just make up that they haven't seen each other. That's factual. I don't know how they can't get that through their heads.
they're both mothers who have all the kids in their home. I mean, I know Carly's in a special situation.
That's
But,
different.
I mean, they have custody of all these kids, and could they even imagine going 7 months without seeing their child? Macy's gone through it with Bentley and Ryan. I'm sure he's probably gone months without seeing Bentley or speaking to Bentley. I'm sure not 7, but I think even Ryan's gone less than 7 months unless he was in jail or something.
His parents always have had access to Bentley until Bentley decided he didn't want to go over there anymore consistently. So that means Ryan has always had access, at least to Bentley. He can't take him to his own house, spend overnights with him, but he can always go to his parents' house every other weekend and see his child.
If he wants to. And
That's
then
way better than a visitation center. He's lucky. And Cate, who probably would kill to be able to see her daughter whenever she wanted to, her oldest daughter. Yeah,
I thought about that a lot.
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for Maci and Cate. I think not everyone can maintain friendships with people that they disagree with a lot of the moral decisions that they're making. And I'm not saying that everyone should have to be friends with people like that, but I do have a lot of respect for them trying to help her to be better for her kids and be a better person, because everybody needs friends and everybody needs to have these kinds of honest conversations. And I'm glad that somebody's telling her these things and helping her to see it. It's just so crappy that two people have to fly in all the way from out of state just to make a connection with your kid happen on your birthday. What do you think they did that you can't do? They did the same exact thing that you would be able to do. In fact, it was more weird and awkward for them because you're not involved. It's just crazy. It's just crazy that Amber lives the way that she does and continues to be such an absent mom.
I just have a feeling if those girls didn't go down there, then Amber would probably went a year without seeing Leah. So they go to Amber's and they meet Gary 2.0, as Leah calls him. Kelly was nervous, so I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt. This is his first time on camera. He was nervous. He was a bit strange, but nervous.
He was on camera before, briefly.
Oh, well, briefly, but this is the real focus on him. These girls are coming to meet him. That was a little fluff scene that they had earlier about him. So this is his first real time being this main focus of something. And they're about to go to dinner with Amber, but they're going to stop there first. And on the way, Macy's like, we're going to tell him, dude, you ain't coming to dinner with us. Or maybe that was something that Amber might have said, like, oh, he wants to come. And then they were probably like, no, we just want to hang out with you. I don't know if that's the case because he did seem like he wanted to go to dinner with them.
He still seemed like he was dropping weird hints, like, I'm going to just sit at a different table. Excuse you? Like, are you another one of these guys that Amber tends to collect that is possessive? Because she does tend to collect possessive men.
He's a something. I don't know. It was strange. I will say though, I will give Amber credit on one point. She's got the coolest blankets. She's got the most comfortable looking, coolest blankets I think I've ever seen in a living room. I want to steal some of those blankets. I want to figure it out. So Chick Chat, if you figure out where Amber got those blankets,
They're
can you
like
please let
those
us know?
big knit blankets that have all
They're
the
gorgeous.
fluff. Like, yeah, I just want to live in her couches. I will
Now
say
I
that.
get why this never leaves her house. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, Amber, I see what you're doing in here. Yeah. Those blankets were really, really cool. I will say that. She's like,
Mhm.
sorry, I just have a bunch of blankets. And Macy and Galen are like, no, it's cool. Like,
Yeah, blankets are fine. Those weird little dolls you used to have, no. But the blankets, I'll take those.
about the towel. I bet they're somewhere upstairs in her room.
I'm sure she
They're
didn't
there.
move without them. They seemed to be sentimental to her, but oh my god, those were so weird. Just keep the blankets, put the gnomes in the attic.
Whatever those were.
Didn't she film her hostage video in front of those gnomes?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch.
I
Probably
think
did.
she
I'm
did.
kind of thinking that these gnomes are either bad juju or like, haunted or something. Like there's something going on with these gnomes. One winked
Yeah.
at me before when I was watching her scenes. They start talking about Amber's failed engagements, basically, because Amber's like, "Oh my god, you're both married. I can't believe it." And it's like, why can't you believe it? They've been married for like 10 years, and you've been the only one not married.
I
I
know.
was so shook by that. I was like,
Like, you guys are,
okay."
like, in your 30s. Yeah, you're married. I'm not saying you have to be, but it's not a shocking thing to be married anymore. And
That
you have
else, like,
teenagers who are driving vehicles.
but this girl is like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the only one of us that's not married." And then I'm like,
Right,
"Well, bitch, you have been for the last 10 years. What are you talking about?" Caitlin and
right.
Tyler got married in like 2015 or 16, and Macy was right around that time too. What are you literally talking about? You're like, what? And then Gary's like, "Speaking of that," and he gets down on one knee, and I'm like, this has to be a joke. Oh my gosh. If this is not staged, I don't believe anything anymore if this is not
I still
staged.
don't really believe it.
He pulls out a ring, which they don't even really zoom in on it, but I could tell it was a fashion ring. It wasn't
Yeah,
even an engagement ring. It wasn't even a wedding set. I will
yeah.
throw up a photo right now of what I believe this ring pretty much looks like, as an example of something similar, if not the damn ring. But here you are, an example. Anyways, this is not a ring you get proposed to with. I was just rolling my eyes so hard because I remember, y'all, like I said before with the whole jewelry thing, I work for a jeweler and it's just a strange thing to propose with. They're usually like anniversary bands. I mean, you can use anything to propose with, right? Any ring can be an engagement ring, but that is so thick. Usually you get like something thinner so then you can add things to it. You can add an anniversary band, you could do this, or you get the full set, but that wasn't a full
Or a
set. There
wedding
was no,
band.
yeah, there was no solid diamond or anything. It went up to her knuckle.
It was ugly in my opinion, but, like,
They're
it
not
just
my
reminds me
favorite.
of one of those things that, like, your great aunt throws on for a special occasion, but not a wedding ring that you wear all the time. Nobody could believe that that proposal was real. I still have a hard time, obviously, to knowing what we know now that it was real, but me and Anne were kind of conspiracy theorying earlier too that it was just maybe staged altogether. Like, maybe they just decided that they wanted to marry each other, and so they found this ring that maybe she already had or something and just decided to do
Definitely.
it while the cameras were around. So I could get with that too. None of it seemed natural or organic or even spontaneous. They were acting like it was some big spontaneous thing, but it just seemed so bizarre. And meanwhile, Kate claps at least for them when they kiss, and Macy could not pick her jaw up off the floor the whole
They were
time.
both so
Her mouth was
uncomfortable.
wide open.
I definitely have a hunch off of a little bit of digging that she might have owned this ring or a very similar one. And I think that she just pulled this out of her jewelry box, especially the way this man be getting engaged these days, hearing that he is already engaged again, about to get
Yeah.
married again.
This year,
Comes
he's about to
afoot.
get married. So, yeah, this guy has lived almost as many lives as Gypsy Rose this year. So
He's the Asian
he's
Gypsy
getting up
Rose.
there.
Wish we followed him more.
I
Or
know.
showed him.
He could probably have his own show if people cared enough about him, but he's just kind of weird. So.
I do. I want to see more about this guy.
I mean, I would watch it, obviously.
He was a whole runaway.
Like, he's lived so many lives. It's crazy. And now he's gonna be somebody's husband. It's just it's
Maybe. I mean, Amber was
maybe.
actually gonna marry him, but
He'll
didn't
actually marry you.
that actually didn't actualize. When he proposes, this girl says, "I'm actually gonna marry you." And I was like, "Who the hell says yes like that?" It's
I
one thing to
know.
be like, "Yes," but actually, and I get that you've been engaged a million times, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I
this
almost
is
feel like she must feel traumatized now when people propose to her. What is it about Amber Portwood that has all these men so quick to get on a knee and scoop her up? What is it?
you know what? I think for the last two, Andrew and Matt, I think it was more MTV that got them.
I feel like this was too. Was this not a most produced engagement we've ever seen on TV?
They had this awkward proposal. Macy and Caitlin are shook, and then he asked if they got that. He's like, "Did you guys get that?" Caitlin's like, "Oh yeah, they got that. They definitely got that." If it wasn't staged, at least by the MTV, which I kind of think it was more staged between Amber and said dude than it was by MTV. I think it was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I got this ring. I'm actually gonna marry you, so you should give it to me."
Right, and we should do it like when the cameras are here because Lord knows when they're gonna come back to film me.
Yeah. So I feel like if they didn't know MTV, all those camera people were probably having the same reaction as me, which was like, what the hell was that?
It was so weird. Even when they called Ty later on in the night and told Tyler about it, he couldn't even believe it. And he says only in Indiana. It's just like, what kind of joke is going on here? And thank God they're not engaged anymore because for her to watch this back, knowing that all this other stuff was actually underlying and that was supposed to be going on, but instead you got engaged and then you got Tyler over here making fun of the whole state that you live in because of what the heck you guys have gone and done. I'm grateful that they're not engaged anymore because this was
Mm.
an unblessed engagement.
Well, I mean, the Indiana joke was pretty funny. And being from Michigan, I mean,
It
Michigan and
was.
Indiana are pretty dang similar anyway.
I know, but I'm
We're
just
right
like,
there.
if that was said after my engagement, like, only in Michigan, I would be like, "What's wrong with me? What did I do?"
So they have this horrid engagement, and dude didn't even smile. I felt like he was
Really?
really monotone most of the
It
time.
was like, "Oh, baby." I don't know. Amber looked terrified, even though I'm sure she was in on it, and I just feel
He
like
was
she's
just like,
traumatized. She's just been engaged so many times. It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. And then how do you go to dinner with your girlfriends afterwards? Don't you wanna hang out with your new fiance?
yeah,
Like,
she's
I'm
just,
not saying you should cancel your plans because that wouldn't work either, but
I just
this was so unthought through.
that was the most unromantic proposal I think I've ever seen in my life. And there was
Yeah.
nothing romantic about that. And it was, I don't know, it was just awkward and strange. And I feel like everybody felt awkward. Even Amber, if I was her, I'd feel freaking awkward. She gets in the car and she's just like, "I'm actually gonna marry that man." Stop saying that.
Kate's like,
Can
"Well,
you
yeah, you
stop?
said yes to him." We all know with Amber that doesn't mean that that's actually what's gonna happen, but
Actually.
so we should probably skip over to Amber's birthday,
A
which
lot better
Gary
than Leah's birthday.
way better. Gary grilled steak and hot dogs and hamburgers. They had a whole tent setup going
Mhm.
on. Everybody was kind to her. And did you notice again, Amber had to turn around and when she was saying thank you and I love you to Leah, she called her a butthead. It's like,
Yeah, maybe if you saw her all the time, you could call her stuff like that. Because sometimes that's playful banter, but like you don't even see this child. You haven't
there
seen her
is,
since
like,
her own
something you
birthday.
get from your aunt or your sister or your
Mhm.
whatever, your mom's friends or something, but not from your mom who you already have a terrible relationship with. It's
Yep.
like everything you say to her, whether she acts like it or not, she takes to heart and she takes it deeply. And if every time you talk to her, you call her well, you called her on her birthday, you call her a butthead, you can't even give her any affection without saying something mean to her at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like, what is wrong with you?
Something I do want to touch on when Macy and Caitlin were told that Amber hasn't seen her child since her child's birthday, I don't think they had all the information of how she treated her child on her
Probably not.
birthday.
Probably not.
Hopefully, when they rewatch some of this, that makes it even worse to me. After you treat her like that, you're gonna get a schedule from her. She actually agrees to go shopping with you, and then you just, oh, she's just too busy. She sent me her schedule. It's definitely that. It's definitely.
Well, and then she basically, at the end of this birthday thing, which seemed to go well and everybody was happy and it looked like it was nice, but at the end of this, she tries to skate away doing the same exact stupid thing that she's been doing this whole time, which is, oh, I really love this. We should start doing this more. Like, your daughter is grown. She's a whole adolescent now. She's doing her hair the same way as her stepmom does her hair, and you're telling me that you want to just start hanging out with her now.
She was wearing her hair the same crispy. Yeah, she's
You only do that when you're like
driving.
a mother-daughter bond here. Let's do our hair together the same way. Just craziness that this is
This
going on,
girl,
and she said she just wants to start.
this girl is driving at this point. She's got a permit and everything. You never weren't able to start. Gary asked you to text her one day. You sent him paragraphs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's somebody isn't telling the truth here, and I just don't think it's Amber.
I think we can all agree on that. That's for sure. And just the fact that Christina and Leah and everybody agree to hang out with Amber the very next day just goes to show that nobody here is busy. Nobody here is keeping anyone from anybody. In fact, even when Maci and Cate are like, oh, do you want to go to Gary's for your birthday? The first thing she does is her eyes light up and she's like, yes, I would love to. There's nowhere else that I'd rather be. It's like, everybody here wants to be together, even though it's hard when you guys are all together, and yet you're the one who's not showing up. You're the only one who's not showing up. I'm
Well,
very tired of this.
I think she lit up like that because at the front for MTV, the camera, all that. Because on her own time, she ain't doing any of that. She's just laying around in her room, sleeping until 3 or 4, whatever, alleged, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it was giving. Remember when she first had James and they were on a trip together and they had Christina and Gary watch James so then Amber and Andrew could do something, and then she promised that they would go get their nails done and all that.
Yep.
And instead, she gets there and Christina's all excited, ready to go get her nails done, her, Leah, and Amber. And she's like, actually, like, I think she either wanted to sleep in or she wanted to do another thing with Andrew and come pick up James later. It's like, these people offered to watch your child for a few hours, not for days.
Yeah, it does take advantage of the whole situation.
Then she bails on these plans. So who's to know if she even went over there the next day? I'd be shocked.
That's why I get so frustrated, because it's like Gary and Christina have been through a lot with Amber. I'm sure way more than anyone in the public has any idea about, and they have had enough respect to keep all of that private, because there's no way that this is the extent of it. And they've been through so much, and yet they keep their house open, their arms open, their hearts open, the lines of communication open. There's no other people that are more open to people who treat someone so trashy just for the sake of their daughter having a relationship with her, when half the time we don't even know if it'd be healthy for them to have a relationship anyways. And yet Gary just soldiers on and like does all these things to try to keep them just open. So I respect that they do that, because at the end of the day, Leah will see why things played out the way that they did and who was really trying and who wasn't. And that's really all that matters. I think Gary is a saint for going through all the things, and Christina is like, I don't know if there's more than a saint, but obviously she can't be a god, but she's something, a goddess. She is a goddess.
Little angel baby child.
Even at the end of this, Amber says that her only birthday wish was to have a plan for the next time to hang out with her daughter. And yet it took Maci encouraging her to say, pick a time and a place.
I know,
for that
Maci
to
was,
even occur.
let's get a date and a time and a place now.
Isn't that the way it works after you make a plan that you actually want to follow through with? I know we all do that thing where we're like, oh, I'd love to hang out more. Let's do that again. And you don't really want to, or you know that you're not going to, so you don't actually try. But if you really want to see somebody, you're like, okay, when are you available next? Let's do this now.
Send me your schedule.
Send me your schedule.
And this girl is doing that evasive thing with her own child. It's one thing to do it with your friends every now and then. Like, I gotta come over sometime, or let's meet up sometime, or whatever. And it's not even sometimes purposeful. It's just like, you know, life happens. But this is your child. You have 2 children. One of them lives across the country, and this one lives 20 minutes away. And you see the one that lives across the country more, admittedly, out of your own mouth.
I know. It's crazy. Absolutely insane.
I cannot. She triggers me. I cannot. So, was there a next time on this?
There is a next time. So next time we're actually going to celebrate Ryan being sober for a year, and he makes this funny joke on the phone that he's celebrated every day, which, I mean, can this guy's head get any bigger? I thought with maybe his addiction and, you know, kind of going through all these legal problems that maybe he wouldn't be so full of himself. But yet here we are. So then we have Leah is actually told by Amber that she's engaged, and it does not look like this is going to go over well. Jade's mom is already out of jail, and Jade says that she looks like she's sick, and sick, I think, meaning that she has probably relapsed. So she's asking to prove that she has not, and that's not going to go over well either. So after that, Mackenzie's going to get her eggs retrieved, and we'll see how that goes. I haven't heard anything on social media about an actual pregnancy, so
I mean, I haven't really looked, but I haven't seen anything yet. But then again, you know, maybe Mackenzie's even keeping that stuff more to
they
the
could.
belt
Yep.
because you got to keep that spot. She keeps getting thrown in and out of Teen Mom. She got to keep her
I know.
spot. I thought it was interesting, I guess, going back to this little party really quick, that Amber wasn't going to tell Leah. She's like, oh, it's kind of a lot right now. Imagine if she told Leah at that party after not seeing this girl for 7 months, mainly because this girl didn't want to see a photo of her boyfriend just to be like, engaged.
I know. I also can't believe that Amber would say yes to an engagement without her kids even meeting this man. But that is a story that unfortunately I do not have time to rant about today. Well, Chick Chatters, thank you for joining us again for this very interesting episode of Teen Mom. The most interesting one in quite a few episodes. So we'll see where the season takes us.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share whatever you got to do.
You gotta reduce, reuse, Rihanna, recycle. I was supposed to say that.
Oh, my bad. We went flip-flop. It's topsy-turvy day. And this is actually probably going to be the last time you see Brooke as a single woman. She gets married a week from today as we're filming.
It is crazy.
All right. Bye, Chick Chat.
Bye-bye.